This is the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust. It's Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024. It is 5 p.m. And our first item is called to order by roll call. So Linda Escobedo,
Present.
Mike Lawson, can't hear Mike. Now
Looks
you're
like
muted. Now you're unmuted and still can't hear you.
I think he's saying present.
You're saying present. Okay. You might need to log off and then back on. We can't hear you. All right. So that mic is present. Rich Feely,
Present.
Harry LaFleur will not be with us tonight, and Keith Bergman present. And I'll wait till Mike gets back on. And welcome again, Ed Larner from the Housing Authority and Community Preservation Committee, and Ray Andrews from the Concord Housing Development Corporation, and welcome as well to Wendy Ravelli, who will be joining the select board at the conclusion of town meeting. All right, Mike. Can't not hear you. Well, let's see. Not sure how to problem solve that.
Well, I'm wondering if for some reason Mike's microphone is way down.
But
Could
you
it
have an
be your
external.
computer, Mike?
Up
Yeah.
high.
Oh,
I just
oh,
heard
there
you with
are.
that. Oh,
You can hear me now?
Yes, we can.
yes.
Yes.
All right. Huzzah. Well, very good. It was all of us sending that positive vibe. So very good. Very good. So next item is approval of minutes. And we have one set from March 26th. That was our last regular meeting. There was a housing roundtable on April 10th. The draft set of minutes has not been prepared yet, but we did not have a quorum present in any event, so we did not convene. We only have one set of minutes to act on, and I had sent those out earlier. I wonder if there's a motion to approve the March 26th minutes.
Vote to approve the March 26th minutes.
Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Rich. Is there discussion? All right, so on that motion, roll call vote. Linda,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and Keith, aye. So that passes. Thanks very much. Next item is a debrief on the April 10th Concord Housing Roundtable. And I just wanted to highlight three topics to discuss. One is that we did discuss MCI Concord. And by way of update, even since then, we can report that the select board voted on April 16th to approve a charge for an MCI Concord advisory board, which they had created on March 4th. It will be 7 to 9 members. And they will be voting at a future meeting to fill those positions, and there will be representatives from the housing community that are included in that membership. Any further information, Linda, that you wanted to share about the establishment of the MCI Concord Advisory Board?
No updates on that. I would just say, however, that I think there's real emphasis on entering that process in a wide open way, if you will, so that we can really hear from the town what they view as their priorities. And so I'm putting it in those terms so that we don't go in lobbying for housing per se, that the committee really, and the charge and the select board's intention is that committee will be launched with the purpose of really soliciting ideas from the community across areas of interest. And what I mean by that is when DCAM Director Baki spoke at, a recent meeting, he acknowledged that he expects, in addition to acknowledging the talent in town, he acknowledged that he expects to hear ideas from economic development, affordable housing, open space, all kinds of ideas. So I think that's really the starting point for the select boards in terms of what they're hoping to accomplish with this first phase of the committee.
Very good.
Linda, I have
Thanks. Thanks, Linda.
one quick
Rich.
question. I mean, has there been any statement that the development of the Junction Village site has to wait until we have a plan for all of MCI, or is there an understanding that we should be looking at proceeding with something at Junction Village before that?
So, there's all kinds of comments that have been out there, and already, as we know, CHCD, circulated a potential map, right? As you recall. But I think at this point, there's much to learn about what DCAM is thinking about and what the state is thinking about before we dig in too deeply. And there'll be fair representation for all these areas on the committee itself. So sorry, Rich, that's the best way I can answer your question at this point.
Okay, fair enough.
Very good. Mike.
Just ask Linda, I'm glad to see the select board moving ahead with this. One of the concerns I have anyway is in the way you phrased what you just said, and that is to hear from the town people about what's important to them. Of course, that's correct, but I hope when we get down to the planning here, we'll think strategically about the town and its long run future, as opposed to, if you recall, that event we had for 2229 Main Street a number of years ago to get town input, and essentially the entire parcel was divided up among 15 different uses, so everybody got 9 square feet. and I think for this parcel, it's important, as it is for the town's longer term development, that the strategic lens on this is incredibly important.
Yeah, I personally couldn't agree with you more. And I suspect that the talent that will end up on this committee will arrive at that same conclusion fairly quickly.
Well, thank you.
Thanks. There's a related issue in updates on MCI Concord, and it is that they're on the legislative side, that the House of Representatives is debating the state budget this week. The debate begins tomorrow, perhaps to be concluded by Friday. We'll see. But in debating that state budget, which has been put out by the House Ways and Means Committee, there are also 1,495 amendments that have been proposed by House members. And 2 of those pertain to MCI Concord, filed jointly by Reps Cataldo and Gentile. And amendment let's see, amendment 937 would essentially take the language that we had first seen in Rep. Cataldo's proposed amendment to then outside section 107 to direct the DCAM commissioner to conduct public hearings in Concord, consult with stakeholders and prepare a written report within 18 months and to consult with a specific list of people. That's what's in Amendment 937. In Amendment 939, that would appropriate $475,000 for the town of Concord to be able to engage planning consultants around the reuse and redevelopment of the property. So I guess we'll see what this week what sort of support there is for those measures from the House of Representatives as a whole. I know we've discussed before, and it's been raised a number of times that back in March, I think it was, when we heard from Senator Barrett as well as Rep. Cataldo, that Senator Barrett at least was looking to get a signal from the town about what its progressive plan was for the reuse of that property, and soon. And I'm hoping that by the time it reaches the Senate, that Senator Barrett thinks that he's heard that message, because I'm not sure that I've heard it yet. So we'll stay tuned. Any comments on the legislation? All right. Next topic that was discussed at the roundtable is the housing production plan amendment process. I thought it was very supportive. No votes were taken at that meeting. That there was a general, seemed to be a general consensus that the amendment process would be a way to update the plan in important ways, including to incorporate the 2020 US Census data that was released in May of 2023, the outcome of the two 40Bs that have been filed, the outcome of MBTA community zoning this month, and the outcome of the legislative process that deals not only with amendments to MCI Concord, but also the real estate transfer fee. And finally, to be able to incorporate or reflect the fact that MCI Concord is closing, and that the town's developing a plan for reuse and development. So two of our fellow roundtable boards have taken formal votes supporting the amendment process. The CHDC did so on April 2nd, Housing Authority on April 4th. So I thought it might be time for the trust to actually take a vote to support that process, so that we could inform and recommend to the select board and to the planning board that we since those are the two boards that would be approving a housing production plan or an amendment, that for us to go on record that we're in favor of proceeding with that process. We were hearing from Liz Russ that at the roundtable and otherwise that it's work that the RHSO could take up later, that could program for later this year, and very likely within budget of funds that have been set aside by the town and the CPC for supporting the RHSO's work. So I guess I'd ask if we could have a vote of support, or if there could be a motion for the trust to vote to support undertaking an amendment process this year.
I certainly support that, and I would make the motion. My only question is, should it include a request for some funds? I mean, I'm glad that Liz thinks she can do it, but I mean, given all the other demands on her office and the modest amount that we pay her, I worry a little bit, that there won't, I mean, I doubt she would have staff that could do all of that. And I'm wondering if we shouldn't request a modest amount of additional funding for RHSO to do that. Are you confident that they can do it with the money that's currently in the FY
Well,
'25?
it's my understanding that, from what I was hearing, that Liz was confident that it could be within, I mean, within there's 33,500 comes from the Community Preservation Committee. There, I think, is a matching, those are matching funds for a town appropriation, and I don't actually
Okay.
know where to find that town appropriation in the budget, but the scope of the work would seem to be around $5,000 worth of work. And if additional funds are needed, well, I think the trust could be so informed and step
Maybe,
up.
in other words, if we
at
have
a
to
future
scratch up
time.
a little money, we can come up with it. Then
Yeah, it seems,
I move that the trust support moving as expeditiously as possible to update the housing production plan.
motion by Rich. Is there a second?
I seconded it. Can you not hear me anymore?
Okay, second.
We got you.
Second, yeah, thank you. I was looking down and instead of matching my screen, sorry, seconded by Mike. Is there further discussion on that? All right, so,
Keith, I will just
yes,
say that,
Linda.
I may be faulty in my recollection here, but as I recall, I thought, Liz said, well, she would have to give some thought to that, and that potentially there would be some additional charge.
Yeah.
I thought that's what I walked away with.
Yeah, and I guess if that's the case, I would respond, if that's the case, then she can come back here for funding. But I think, and we're not going to know what the scope is until, and what the cost is for sure until someone's been tasked to do the project. And so I think our role can be to recommend to the town that the town undertake the project. And if they need more money, that they can let us know.
So
It's certainly legitimate. Many communities go directly to their housing trust to pay for a housing production plan update in the first place. Linda.
yeah, I guess what I'm thinking about it, and someone hesitant to leave a blank check here for whatever request would come in for what, the scope of the project and what it's going to cost. And, if the town is just automatically assuming we're going to pick up that cost, and it may not be as minimal as some of us would like to think.
I
I'm
think
just,
yeah, I was going to say, I think at some point we have to show that we're a worthy partner with the town on this. And we asked the town for a lot of money, and they give it to us when we're allowed to apply for it. We haven't got any new ARPA funds yet. But
Well, that was deliberately weasel worded by me. The expeditiously as possible gives them an invitation to come for money, but not committing to any particular amount. Or even committing us at all to come up with more money.
yeah, I could certainly be silent on in communicating.
If And
Mike?
couldn't we, after we vote on this matter, simply ask the chair of the committee when transmitting the vote to please indicate that if additional funds are needed, that they should feel encouraged to come back to us for support. I just think that in the transmittal note could convey our sentiment.
It could also have a bearing on any invitation we may get to apply for additional ARPA funds, right?
Well, I've sort of given up on the ARPA funds. I just don't know what to make of that.
Whether more are coming or not, I think it would be a positive thing to be quite clear about articulating.
This is a very small scale. I mean, we're not talking, even potentially, we're not talking more than about five to $10,000 for the project as a whole. And if Liz thought that she could do 5,000 out of the budget that she's given, and another 5 is needed for us, I don't. I think we ought to step up to do that.
I think
And on the matter of ARPA funds, yeah, if I could, on the matter of ARPA funds, keep your eye on the amendment number 939 for $475,000. Because if that doesn't pass, I don't know where the town gets the funds that the town will need to do MCI Concord unless they use the ARPA funds. So a lot of things might be resolving themselves on short order here. Mike, you're off. You're now muted. Now you're unmuted.
I think the chairman of DCAM had indicated, or Simon indicated, that there are funds in the DCAM budget that could possibly also be used to support this. But I think I'm hopeful that that amendment will pass, and I'm pretty sure Senator Barrett will be supportive of it.
Very good, thank you. On the matter of, and I want to make sure we get a motion because I had the discussion go on and never got back to asking for a vote at our last meeting, so I want to make sure I don't do that again. So we have a motion on the floor by Rich and seconded by Mike for the trust to recommend to the select board and planning board that the town, with the assistance of the Regional Housing Service Office, undertake in 2024 the process of amending the housing production plan. Is we ready for a vote on that?
Wordsmith?
Yes.
Amend as opposed to update?
Yes. Yeah. And the reason is because the an update is an amendment to something that the town can do at any time. And it is a lower order than an update. And in fact, the term amendment, a community may amend, this is from the regulations, a community may amend its housing production plan at any time to reflect changes in local circumstances. And so that's what we're coming under as an amendment. And I can put in the citation of where that appears.
And the amendment still needs then to be approved.
It would still need to be approved by HLC. The select board and planning board and then HLC.
Thank you.
But it's more or less an expedited process that does not require as many bells and whistles as an initial adoption or an update of a housing production plan. Okay, so on the motion and second, ready for a vote? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Linda?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and Keith, aye. Very good. Thanks, thanks very much. The last of three items that we discussed at the meeting were preparation for annual town meeting articles. And the only thing I wanted to,
Keith, I'm sorry, to
Yes.
be delayed in my response here. So are you going to now ask, Liz, because I think she said was a process she would have to go through, to give some thought to how she writes up the scope and also the potential cost?
and a cost estimate, yeah, yes, indeed. For follow-up, my first follow-up will be to Liz Rust on to come up with a proposed scope of work and a cost estimate. So I think we and just so that we're all on the same page, I'd certainly want the select board and the planning board to know that by the time they're signing on
Yep.
to it.
Yep.
Right, thank you. Okay, on the annual town meeting preparations, the only remaining question I have, and I don't know that anyone's on the call that can answer it, is are all of the final motions for the four articles that we're interested in, including the well, are the final motions available for the public to see? Or are we only going to see them when we walk into town meeting on Monday night?
So,
That's, yeah,
so as of, was it Monday? Oh, well, yeah, I guess last night, the motions have not been circulated. The town moderator is aware of them in working with the individual warrant sponsors, but they have not been circulated at large.
so no one will, the public won't know before we walk into town meeting what we're voting on?
Well, is there any reason to think that any of the housing articles would change in substance? I mean, I didn't think there was unless.
Well, I
planning
think
board
we're
is-
entitled, yeah, well, they will be, I'm sure town council will not allow a motion put forward that doesn't fall within the scope of the article as printed.
Right.
But I'm asking, well, what does the motion say? Are we not entitled to know what it says before we go in and vote on it? And I guess the answer is we won't know.
In some cases, not necessarily for the housing articles, but, in a couple cases during the week with correspondence, the last couple weeks correspondence going back and forth. And maybe it had more to do with the citizen petitions. Someone offered, this will be the motion that I'm making. But unless something like that was circulated, I haven't seen the exact wording of all the motions.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can think of two articles anyway that are on our radar screen, which are very possibly could be where the motion is in a different form than the article as posted. First is the fossil fuel free bylaw amendment, and that if there's any additional tweaking that needs to be done to satisfy the Attorney General to approve, who has yet to approve the first bylaw, that it would be nice, I think it would be, I don't know why the town wouldn't want to share that information with the voters beforehand. That point one. And the second example, if there are any amendments to the MBTA community zoning, if the motion that's made is different than the article is printed, it would just be nice to see and understand what the changes are and why, and not have that information embargoed until we're all in a
Linda's on, she might be able
And-
to
in the
Okay.
gymnasium getting ready to vote on. So, but if that's the way, then that's fine.
Linda Miller's on.
Yeah, would you like me to comment, Keith? On
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, as of now, I mean, they're little tweaks. Originally, the warrant didn't, for some reason, publish the map, so that will be included in a handout. And also, I think we're adding something to the effect that a majority vote is required for the MBTA, but at this point, nothing that I would consider substantive, but there's always tomorrow, so we'll see.
Thank you for that, Linda.
Okay,
Keith, it would
Yeah.
All
also,
right, so
would also be straightforward just to, if we're concerned about this, we could certainly write the moderator and ask her if,
yeah, I think
I don't
pretty
mean
much the
her-
moderator has all of our information that's up to date.
I didn't
So
mean her-
whenever, if anything is going to be posted, it would be part of that, but you don't have to ask the moderator about posting things. Yeah, it's not, I don't think the planning board will post it separately.
No, I was thinking of other articles, not yours.
Mm. Okay,
Simple matter, that's Carmen.
well, I'm sure that the two articles, and thank you, Linda. I'm sure the two articles I mentioned have the full attention of town council and the moderator and everyone. It's just that they don't have the public's full attention yet of what precisely we'll be voting on. And that's so I guess we'll find out next Monday. All right. Moving on. Next item is funding for the trust. And the update for this meeting is that the Governor's Affordable Homes Act, House 4183, which includes the local option real estate transfer fee to fund municipal affordable housing trusts, was reported out favorably by a second committee, the Joint Committee on Bonding, on April 16th, and then referred to the House Ways and Means, where it's reported that by the speaker that Ways and Means will take up this bill after the House completes action on the state budget. So it's a pretty high priority. And I don't know if Rich, who's on the LOHA coalition, has any updates that you'd like to share.
No, I think that's it. The sense is that any amendments would occur in Ways and Means, and also, this is where the real estate industry will be focusing their opposition. I think at this point, the strategy is to provide to every member of the House a fact sheet on what it is and what it isn't, rebutting some of the claims made by the real estate industry, and trying to get the co-sponsors and those who want it to chat up their colleagues and try and convince them to take this seriously and that it needs to be done. If there are going to be any amendments which would make this more favorable to low property value towns, the assumption is those would occur in Ways and Means.
Very good. Thanks, Rich. Oh, and I also wanted to mention that that the joint letter of support that was signed by, I guess, a total of 27 communities, including Concord, was released this past week to great fanfare and got coverage on Politico and Mass Live and something called the Master List, which every legislator gets. So good for Concord for being part of that joint letter, and thanks Rich for advocating for that through the Aloha Coalition. So
Yeah, and
so
then
we'll-
the interesting thing is that's 15 more towns than have actually already passed it. So there's a lot of towns there saying we think we want it. Great Barrington, Northampton, Watertown, some others. Not always the entire select board, but sometimes the town manager or some of the select board members.
Right. That's great. So we'll stay tuned for that. Next item is housing production updates, and I wanted to start by mentioning the Novo Riverside Commons 40B, so that we have for the record of our meeting. As you recall, back at our last regular meeting on March 26th, we approved a grant award for $392,285 to Novo for the sewer improvement fee for its 51 affordable units. That grant agreement was executed on April 8th. And then on April 11th, the Zoning Board of Appeals approved Novo's comprehensive permit application. Then on April 16th, that decision was filed with the town clerk. And that act of filing thereby qualifies all 201 units counted in the Novo project qualifies them to be counted on the town subsidized housing inventory. So once that is certified by HLC, Concord will be back above 10% with at 12.8%. So we were wondering who would bring us across the finish line, and it's Novo. We've still got a few more individual units in the pipeline that will be which will bring us up a little further. And so thanks to all for working towards getting this housing produced and counted. And speaking of Novo, I just wanted to go back to a motion that was made and seconded at our last meeting, which I would ask be put back on the table so that we can take the vote, because by the time I moved on to the next item, my notes say, and watching the video afterward confirms, we didn't take the vote. So the motion that had been offered by Rich was that the trust vote to support item 8 in Attorney Smolak's March 11th letter, which asked the trust to support a future request to the Zoning Board of Appeals to allow for the joint use of at least 36 surface parking spaces located on the 310 Baker Ave commercial lot, Lot A, for both Novo tenants as well as 310 Baker Ave commercial tenants. And that was seconded by Mike. So I'd like to put that. So I was wondering if Rich would agree to so move again, and Mike agree to second, and then we could take a
So
vote.
moved.
Seconded.
Okay, so the motion is made and seconded. Is there further discussion on that? All right, so let's take the roll call. Linda,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and Keith, aye. So that motion passes by 4-0. Thank you. As it happened, I had already informed the ZBA about it back on March 26th. And so they were aware of the act, but I just wanted to make sure that it was official. Thanks. Residences at Thorough, the ZBA hearing is continued to May 16th. We have some folks on the call from CHDC and Housing Authority, and I'm wondering if there are any updates you want to share about any of your projects. We know they're in the works. Don't want to put anybody on the spot. Ed, give your hand up.
Sure. You know, we've been working really hard on the repositioning of the federal units. And I don't want to be speaking for Rick Eifler because he's in charge of it, but I believe we will be able to get more of those on the SHI. The apartment that was purchased with help from the Affordable Trust is awaiting some bathroom, finishing touches, and it will be housed for a family very shortly. So I think those are the two things that are going on for us, as well as continue to work with Habitat for Humanity. They seem to be anxious to do more projects here in Concord.
Great, thanks very much. Ray Andrews, any update from CHDC?
Just that this may have already been discussed that the two-family house at 406 Old Marlborough Road, the upstairs 406A has been occupied as of tenant moved in April 1st, and we're next meeting we'll discuss the two RFPs we've received, two proposals we've received, one from a developer called Common Ground out of Lowell, and one from the Habitat for Humanity from Lowell.
Ray,
think
could I
that's it.
just ask a quick question? What's
Sure.
the status of the downstairs existing unit at Assabet that's
Yeah.
occupied by a long-term tenant? Is that right?
Yes, it is. It's a tenant at will, and yeah, I guess they're a tenant at will. I don't know how long they've been there. They seem to be very happy and satisfied in the apartment. I did ask Liz recently about any feedback from the new tenant upstairs as far as their satisfaction, and I guess there's no feedback. So we're assuming no news is good news on the upstairs apartment. The only concern was that inside the front door, if you step in the front door, you're looking at the laundry and washer and dryer to the right and the stairs going up, and it's very cold in the cold weather. And there was a concern about that, which we will look at again as we get near to the heating season, but what to do with that, heating that space just to protect at least the laundry.
Okay, and my guess is that the person who's there, even if they're not 80% AMI, is not somebody who could afford market rate stuff in the rest of Concord. So, we're fundamentally doing what we want with that unit and making it possible for somebody of modest means to continue living in Concord, right?
Right. I don't know if they've been qualified. That's a good question. Whether they are, qualified, affordable, I don't know, Section 8 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to run them out because
Right.
they're, over 80%. I mean, if they're at 100 or 120, they don't have a lot of options in town until Novo gets built anyway.
Yeah, I think that it's been said that that the CHDC and the Housing Authority are not in the business of throwing people out of their, residences. But yes, whether they are what their qualifications are, I don't know. I don't even know if that's been asked. Does Stefan know?
I think that Jennifer had a preliminary conversation with them on that topic, but don't quote me on that. But
Okay.
what you can quote me on is that Jennifer and Stephanie Kroback and I are going in for the lobby day tomorrow at the State House, encouraging the legislature to approve the two budget items for public housing, the subsidy and for the residents service coordinators. So we're going to be lobbying. We will be in the State House tomorrow morning. That's not exactly a project update, but it is an update from the Housing Authority.
Thanks very much. It'll be a busy day at the State House with the House taking up the state budget. So good luck with that. Any other updates on housing production plan projects? Because I wanted to move next to our discussion of assigning individual trust members to monitor individual grant funded projects. And I'm going to share my screen. And let's see. All right, can you see this? All right. What I've put together is these are the 9 projects which have been funded with trust funds. Some of the decisions were made by the select board since 2019. And then when the select board transferred the remaining funds to the trust fund back in 2021, we took over monitoring all of the projects that have been for which those funds were used. So what I've done here in summarizing the 9 projects, there are hopefully you can see shaded boxes for 4 of them, and it's because those projects are complete. And there are 2 ways to tell that. One is because a HLC or then DHCD assigned an ID number to them in the subsidized housing inventory form, so that we know the units count because we see them by that ID number on their subsidized housing inventory report. And secondly is that here are the dates in this the second to the right column. Here are the book and page numbers and the date that the deed restrictions were recorded in the Registry of Deeds. So for those 4 projects, those are fully complete, that the deed restrictions are recorded in the registry, and they are counting on the subsidized housing inventory. So that's the standard. That's our standard for completion. And then what that leaves us with are the remaining 5 projects have still yet to be complete, and they're in various stages. Assabet River Bluff is one for our standpoint. That project involves the $650,000 that the trust spent towards the acquisition of that property. That project will be complete when there are 5 deed restrictions recorded. The CHDC is certainly working on that. That was the reason behind the planned residential development that was approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals on March 28th. That's also happened since our last regular meeting. And that's great. That's progress. But in terms of when we view the project as being completed, it will be at the point at which there are 5 deed restrictions recorded. So project will not only stay on our radar screen for a while for the money we've given them, but we're also anticipating that CHDC will be requesting additional funds for the project. So that's one. The CHDC small grant program, $50,000, is those units we understand are not will not impact the subsidized housing inventory, but nevertheless, the $50,000 is being spent for income eligible households. We'll keep track of that. The CHA Local Properties LLC, their property acquisition program for the unit that we're just talking about 78 Forge Ridge Road. That that property was acquired. We have a book and page number. The last thing that we'll need is the recorded deed restriction and the assignment of an ID number from HLC for the subsidized housing inventory. So that part is in progress, I know, and will probably reach the finish line very shortly. But in the meantime, the project is not completed. Next, the CHDC buy down program, where the CHDC has $266,120 from the trust. They have a similar amount to get to the total of $500,000, so similar funding from the Community Preservation Committee in 2021. So, and I don't have any updated information on this project, but it's certainly one that will continue to be on our radar screen until the funds are expended, a unit is added, and the deed is recorded. The last of our open projects is the Novo sewer improvement fee that was approved at our last meeting, and the way that it works is that, I mean, it's very likely that that project may not be that deed restriction may not be recorded until at least 1 year plus 18 months from now at the earliest. That in order to those units will count on the subsidized housing inventory and get assigned a number as soon as HLC takes cognizance of the filing of that decision with the town clerk. And I know that Liz Rust is bringing that to HLC's attention. At that point, there'll be an ID number for the subsidized housing inventory. The filing of the deed restrictions, though, will come at a later date, and just as one potential measure of how long that might take, that the developer, in order for the units to continue to be counted on the subsidized housing inventory, the developer has to pull a building permit within 1 year of the decision by the ZBA, or the filing of the decision with the town clerk. So that would be next April. That would be April of 2025. Then on top of that, in order for the units to continue to be counted on the SHI, the certificate of occupancy would need to be issued within 18 months thereafter. So that takes you into further time. So collectively, it might be 2.5 years, until we see the deed restrictions. So ASABET, the small grant program, CHA's property acquisition program, CHDC's buy down program, and the Novo sewer improvement fee. Those are the 5 projects that we have. So it'd be my suggestion that those projects be the ones that are assigned to particular trust members. And I'm going to take this screen sharing down and see if there's any volunteers to bird dog particular projects. Rich.
Well, I mean, I'd be interested in either Novo or ASABET, but since the foundation has $100,000 in ASABET as well, I think maybe it makes sense for me to volunteer for that.
Okay.
So Keith,
Yes.
I'm currently on the trust as the select board representative. And clearly, I'm finishing my second term after town meeting. So I'm not I'm sort of in a precarious position here about not knowing how to assist at this time. I would say because we don't know what the new select board will do, whether they'll appoint a select board member or a designee. So that's one possibility there. But there's liable to be keen interest from current select board members, I would guess.
Right. Thanks, Linda. And we'll be and the next item after this, we'll be discussing the composition of the board and expanding from 5 to 7 members. So, which is also on our agenda. So thank you. Mike?
Just, I think Keith, why don't you just assign them? I'll do whatever you ask me to do, so.
Well, let's see. I think that as a practical matter, the CHA's project will be it might even happen in the next month to come to a conclusion. So I'd say either the CHDC's buy down. I'll offer to stay on top of Novo just because from my understanding, the main way that I will stay on top of Novo is by getting frequent updates from town staff on where that project is and meeting the milestones I just talked about, pulling the building permit and then pulling the occupancy permit. And that's sort of going to be all that's involved in that. So maybe the CHDC's buy down program, Mike?
Oh,
Okay. And I'm not sure if Carrie were here, if she would take one, take a particular project to Bird Dog or not, but if
I think she's busier than a one-armed paper hanger. I think we
yeah,
ought to
well,
try and
absolutely, yeah. I was thinking that it may just fall to the non town manager, non-select board members to be
so give me another,
to have a project assigned.
give me another.
Small grant program, CHDC. And then that would leave the Housing Authority LLC property acquisition program. I'll take that because it's going to close out promptly. It's going to close out soon, and then as we get new projects, we'll have we will right when we approve them, we will assign someone. Now that we have a procedure about that.
And my responsibilities there, other than providing updates to the trust as we meet on these projects, is there any other responsibility of
Well, I think it would be important to pursue updates that I usually try to attend, the CHDC or the Housing Authority meetings to see where a lot of the update information I get from listening. Some of it I really don't know what's happening with the buy down program. I don't know if anything is happening on the buy down program, and that may require some further conversations outside of the meeting to see what the CHDC's plan is for them.
And can I ask a related question? I know it's coming up on 6 o'clock, but for these programs that we have funded, do they have a responsibility now to report back to us at the completion of their project as part of our process?
Yes, you should definitely use the form. Use the form that we approved on March 26, the grantees project, the CPC's model. And the CPC's model and ours differentiates between an interim report and a final report. So the point, and I'm just trying to underscore the point at which our reports, that the reports that we get will be final, and not just that they've spent all the money. That's not good enough. You've got to record the deed restriction and get your project counted on the SHI, then we'll consider it final. So I think that would be important information to communicate with the grantees.
Well, I'm asking not just for those assigned to us, but for the projects that are completed.
Oh, yeah, for the prior projects that if well, we could certainly request, I have not sent out the forms yet with pending this conversation, but I could certainly send out that in order for us to close it out. Let me share my screen again.
We don't need to deal with that now, Keith, but I just think it is something.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that there's no paperwork other than this sheet that I've prepared, for which I researched. I did a search of the Registry of Deeds, and I did a search of the HLC's subsidized housing in detailed housing inventory. Apart from putting that information on this spreadsheet, we don't have a completed report from anybody about any of these projects that are closed out. And so I can certainly ask for the grantee to fill out the form and just so that we have a record, which we could then post online and share with the public.
I would keep it simple. I mean, particularly for things that are years in the past, like the original money for Giroux or 930 Main, particularly when we have, the SHI number for those. Seems to me, we know they're occupied and deed restricted, that we know what we need to know, that we got what we paid for. So, I mean, I understand you may want a piece of paper. I just keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, you'll note that the money, just on 930 Main Street, for example, the money was awarded in July of 2019. It did not get added to the subsidized housing inventory until July of 2022.
Right.
So
Right.
it took 3 years to happen. It took a fourth year for the Giroux property to get added to the, I mean, that just happened, to get added to the SHI. And so, yeah, I'll ask them to fill out a form if they can do that, to just tell us what to tell the public, really remind the public what the project was and what happened. I think that would be a useful bit of information for the public to have and for us to be able to point to as the funding source. So I'll follow that up. Okay. Then our next item is board composition. And we discussed at our last meeting that we would schedule a discussion for this meeting on the matter of expanding our membership from the current 5 to the maximum 7 that's authorized under the trust town bylaw. And that in particular, one of the things we're we're aware of is that if we had two positions to fill, that one of the applicants for that might be someone we know well and who's got a lot of time and effort invested with us. And that I know I would be very pleased to be able to have Linda Escobedo continue to serve on the trust as a
Yeah.
a non-select board member of the trust. And so I'd welcome a discussion on how we would want to proceed with
Oh, because our charter allows it, I don't think there's anything really to do other than, you know, the formality of get a green card, Linda. And then have the chair just contact the chair of the select board and tell them we want an additional appointment. You
Yeah.
know, pretty straightforward. There's no.
Yeah. And I would think part of that would be, because I would like to stay with an odd number to go to 7 members, is to, if there's a procedure for asking the select board to or however it's done, to town to advertise for or list as an opening a 7th position on the trust.
Sure, I think that's just a matter of contacting Shannon, McAndrew and town manager's office and ask her to
Yeah.
do that for us. My experience though is that you know, get it posted, but if anybody on the committee's got an idea of somebody who might be a good member of the trust, tee it up and have the chair interview them and.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering particularly if there are people who have rotated off either the CHA or the CHDC who, you know, don't have to start from scratch and understanding some of the language and are interested in staying involved. I mean, you know, maybe Ed or Ray could tell us that offline, but that would be the first place I would go. Because I think there aren't a lot of people outside the housing community that really understand what we do.
Well, I'd welcome, all right, so my, so I'm hearing that I can contact Shannon in the select board's office to change their form to add us, to add the trust as a place where there's a vacancy. So that the public knows that. We can all be looking for people, including Linda, to file a green card so that we can bring their application forward. And I guess the question I would ask for Linda is the timing. That that this would your position is up.
Concludes at the
After
end of town meeting, concludes at the
includes
end
at the end of
meeting.
town meeting. Okay, thank you.
And the current chair of the board has already invited committees and boards to bring forward nominations or appointee, you know, additional appointees
Okay,
in anticipation of, you know, terms ending and so forth. So,
right. The anticipation of town meeting ending.
yeah.
Yeah, and the appointment process
Oh.
is 2 select board meetings. So the first one is a nomination. And then the next select board makes the actual appointment. So Keith, I don't think there's anything wrong with you contacting either Henry or Mary.
Yeah.
Now and just say.
Yeah.
Done. I'm not gonna get to it probably until, you know, after town meeting anyway, so there's no.
Right. Okay, yeah, I'll certainly, yeah, I'll do that and say with the, we're looking at filling 2 other positions as authorized by the bylaw. So, so I'll be bringing forward 2 nominations in the coming weeks.
Linda,
And
has
that
the
you-
select
Yeah, and
board-
you need the clerk's office to post the vacancies, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, however that's done.
And, I think Mary is already trying to pick some of these things up.
Very good. Okay, so I think I have my marching orders then.
Has the select board indicated who they might appoint?
No,
Very
Do
good.
you have to, I just have a procedural question. Do you have to file a green card for a specific committee? Or do you just file it and indicate your willingness to serve in what areas of expertise / interest you have?
Yeah, I think if you don't indicate which committee, it won't get to me. I mean.
Okay.
The way they
Yeah.
organize cards, so if you've got blank, you're just gonna go to the back of the Rolodex and.
Very good. All right. So I think we have a game plan for moving forward. Thank you all very much. Public comment. We have any public comment? Ray,
I have a question. The CHDC has paused their RFP on Junction Village until September 30, 2024. Is there any likelihood greater than 0 that we can expect to do anything other than continue that pause for another year?
I think that's an excellent question to ask the MCI Advisory Board.
Right.
I, for one, would hate to see us pause yet again, because I think then we'll still be tied up in sorting stuff out in another year. I really hope you folks in CHDC can, go ahead and actually look at bids, because I mean, it's been designated for affordable housing for over a decade now.
Right.
And I think we're just inviting, Jarndyce versus Jarndyce here if we don't do something. So I personally would prefer to see it activated again in September.
Ray,
Right.
sorry. Ray, I don't know if you were already online when I made my comment early in the meeting that in terms of the new MCI board or committee that'll be meeting, I think one of their first tasks is likely to be looking at exactly what properties are we talking about for MCI at this point, and what their relationship is to geographic relationship is to Junction Village. So I think there's going to be some forthcoming information sooner rather than later that will help answer your question.
Right. There's the proposal, the amendment, whatever you call it, that Lee Smith threw, and it's been improved a bit in terms of its appearance. That includes the buffer along the river and another 12 acre, say, because that really is obviously the furthest removed from the rotary construction, if there is any, modification there, or would seem to be the least disruptive to the whole plan, whatever the whole plan is for the rest of the property. I guess the question is there any likelihood that can be fast tracked? I think maybe Rich may have asked that question earlier today. Any likelihood that can be moved on a separate track from the whole project without being disrupted? I don't want to, make a preemptive strike or anything. I don't think that that's going to be allowed anyway. But yeah, I mean, I think
Well,
that
something's going to
Right.
have to happen, Ray, if we take over the
Water treatment
sewage
plant.
treatment plant. I mean,
Right.
whether the town owns it or leases it from the state for some period of time or whatever, there's got to be some change in the control of that land if we're gonna assume responsibility for sewage treatment. plant.
Right. The treatment plant apparently is on the yeah, right.
Yeah,
The
it's
sewage
there.
treatment plant is that little blue square on the acquisition parcel. And that would, I don't, maybe this is just rehashing something that's already been said to everybody present. But that would obviously give us an economy of scale for housing and also access to Commonwealth Ave without having to go down Winthrop Street. So those are two benefits. But okay, that's it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, well,
I would personally hope that we could move some, variant of that achieves the two things that you
Right.
just described, the plant and access to Com Ave, and enables us to move forward without waiting. I mean, we know that whatever is done with Route 2 will have the gestation period of the great blue whale. So we don't want to wait for that kind of disposition.
right. And it does need to be a lot of discussion about commercial and revenue and all that sort of thing. And that'll take several years. I'm just trying to figure out, is there a way that's consistent with the holistic approach to break off a piece? Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's a
would
very,
certainly
it's a
hope
very
that the
decision.
town
Yeah,
committee would look at that. And maybe it wouldn't be that whole 20 acres, but it would be the plant plus
Right.
enough land to give you a little
Sure.
more building room and access to Com Ave.
Right. That'd be
yeah.
fine.
Certainly developers are going to have a lot of questions. Potential developers are going to have a lot of questions about what's happening at MCI Concord. And the CHDC will have some answers, but not all the answers that,
Right.
that those developers might want to hear.
Right. Okay.
So,
Thank you.
very good. Any other public comments? All right, our next meeting will be after town meeting. And I'm wondering how far after would we want to look at, we meet on a Tuesday at 5 o'clock, and I wonder if how we would feel about Tuesday, May 14th as our next meeting.
I could do that.
For me,
Okay. All right, so
fine.
let's pick, we'll do Tuesday, May 14th at 5 PM as our next meeting. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
No moved.
Second,
Motion by Rich, second by Mike. And since our next meeting is after the town meeting, and I just want to express, and I know that Linda's term expires now at that town meeting. I just want to express that at Linda's last meeting in this round, anyway, our heartfelt thanks for your service. Thank you for plucking me from obscurity, Linda, when we met over coffee. Gosh, must have been 2021, I think, first talked about the or no, it was no, it was 2020. Talking about the trust, there's this affordable housing trust, and we need a bylaw. And then after we adopt a bylaw, we need a trust. So thank you so much for inviting us all to be part of this process. And I'm really grateful for your service.
Well, it's been an
Keith-
honor to serve with this illustrious group, and I hope to see more of you in the future. Thank you so much.
Keith, a
Thank
very
you.
quick question. Are you going to make a positive statement on behalf of the trust for each of the 4 housing articles?
Uh, yes, as needed, I will remain mum, on the article that's, on the consent calendar. Article 32. I'll speak in favor of the other three, hopefully briefly. And I've discussed or arranged with the moderator that as each of those four articles comes up, that she will mention without any prompting that the trust, the housing authority, and the CHDC support those four articles. I know she does that for town boards. So,
We're
and,
planning to the foundation will make a brief statement, indicating our support.
right,
Since we're not a town agency, and
right.
we'll be prepared if need be to try and deal with some of the criticisms towards the end of the debate.
Very good. Okay, and I have fully intend to be back in Concord in time for town meeting, safely on Nantucket right now, but the
You can't vote
boats.
remotely yet.
No, not yet. No, I'll have to get on a boat.
Don't forget to vote.
So we have a motion and second to adjourn. I'll take a roll call vote. Linda?
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mike?
Linda.
Aye. Goodbye, everyone.
Rich?
Aye.
And Keith, aye. So we are adjourned at 6:21 PM. Thank you all and see you at town meeting.